The morning sunlight poured through the windows of Arabelle's apartment, dancing across the floor as if celebrating the new chapter in her life. She sat on the edge of her bed, fingers tracing the delicate rose gold ring Jaehyun had placed on her finger under the cherry blossoms. Even now, days later, it felt surreal, like the city, the world, and her heart had all conspired to bring this moment to life. Jaehyun entered, holding 2 cups of coffee, his expression soft but with the faint intensity that always made her pulse race. "Morning," he said, setting a cup beside her. "Sleep well." Arabelle smiled, turning the ring around her finger. "Like I've been floating on clouds." He sat beside her, shoulders brushing. "Good, because floating on clouds is exactly where I plan for us to stay, at least until the wedding planning begins." Her eyes widened. "You're already thinking about the wedding?" He laughed softly. "Of course. We've got to honor tradition, but also make it ours. I don't want a cookie-cutter affair. I want a story, like us." Arabelle's heart swelled. She hadn't realized how much she wanted that, too. A celebration that didn't erase her past or his, but wove them together. The sound of her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. She glanced at it and felt a brief flicker of unease. Bora's name flashed across the screen. A warning bell in her chest. "Should I answer?" she whispered. Jaehyun leaned closer, his gaze firm. "No, she's not important. Today, only we matter." But Arabelle couldn't help the unease. Bora had been in the background, quiet since the banquet, but now she seemed ready to reappear. Later that day, the couple visited a wedding hall, a modern blend of glass and traditional motifs, cherry blossoms etched into the ceilings, soft lanterns hanging in perfect alignment. Arabelle walked slowly through the space, fingers brushing the smooth railing of the balcony. "It's beautiful," she murmured. Jaehyun turned, pulling her close. "Not as beautiful as you," he said, brushing a curl behind her ear. "I wanted you here first. Not the designers, not the planners. Just us. Your opinion matters most." She leaned against him, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. For a moment, the future, wedding stress, cultural expectations, office gossip, and even Bora felt distant, replaced by certainty. This was where she belonged. As they stepped outside, the spring breeze carried the scent of cherry blossoms. A street musician played softly in the distance, and Jaehyun paused, looking at her with a seriousness that made her heart stutter. "Arabelle," he said, voice low, "no matter what happens, the gossip, the office, Bora, I want you to remember this. You are my choice, my heart, and no one will ever change that." She smiled, holding his hand tightly. "I believe you." And in that moment, under the soft pink petals swirling in the breeze, their future, uncertain, full of challenges, but undeniably theirs, began to bloom. The next morning, the city buzzed with its usual rhythm, but Arabelle felt a tension that wasn't hers alone. The office, which had once been her sanctuary, now seemed layered with whispers and sideways glances. Even though Mr. Park, Jaehyun, had made their relationship public, rumors didn't vanish overnight. Arabelle stepped out of the elevator and froze for a moment. There she was, Bora, impeccably dressed in a white blouse and black pencil skirt, her heels clicking deliberately against the polished floor. Her eyes locked on Arabelle, a mixture of disdain and calculation in her gaze. "Arabelle." Bora's voice was syrupy, deliberately loud. "Congratulations on your promotion, I suppose." Arabelle's lips pressed into a polite smile, her hands curling slightly at her sides. She'd practiced countless responses in her mind, but none seemed adequate. "Thank you," she said, calm but firm. Bora circled her like a predator, eyes glinting. "You must be very proud, stepping into the CEO's office like that." Her words dripped with malice. "I hope you know how fragile that position can be. People talk." Before Arabelle could respond, Jaehyun appeared behind her, his presence immediately commanding attention. "Bora," he said, voice low but sharp. "Step away." Bora raised an eyebrow, undeterred. "I'm just making conversation, Jaehyun." "Surely she can handle it." "She can," he said, eyes flicking to Arabelle, but I will not allow disrespect. His tone left no room for argument. Bora's jaw tightened, but she finally stepped back, eyes narrowing. Arabelle exhaled quietly, relief washing over her. Thank you, she whispered, her hand brushing against his as they walked toward the conference room. Inside, the team began their weekly briefing, but the undercurrent of tension lingered. Arabelle presented her updates with her usual poise, her confidence growing with every slide. Jae-hyun watched quietly from the corner, his admiration visible but restrained. Later, during lunch, he leaned close. You handled Bora well, he said, a small smile tugging at his lips. Not everyone has the patience or composure you do. Arabelle shook her head. I didn't do it for her. I did it for us. He nodded, eyes softening. And that's why I love you. The afternoon brought another challenge. An urgent call from his mother. She wanted Arabelle to visit for a traditional tea ceremony, part of welcoming her into the family. Excited but nervous, Arabelle agreed. That evening, she arrived at Jae-hyun's family home, the air fragrant with jasmine and the soft glow of lanterns welcoming her. His mother greeted her warmly, showing her how to pour tea properly, explaining each step with patience. Arabelle listened intently, learning the gestures, the subtle bows, and the grace expected. By the time Jae-hyun's father joined, Arabelle felt a sense of accomplishment. She had navigated a complex world with respect, humility, and charm, and his parents noticed. You are thoughtful and sincere, his father said quietly, almost approvingly. That is the heart of a strong woman. Arabelle's chest swelled. In that moment, she realized standing tall wasn't just about the office or Mr. Park. It was about being herself, fully, in every world she entered. As they left, Jae-hyun walked beside her, hand brushing hers. See, he murmured. Every challenge just makes us stronger. And tomorrow, we face Bora again. Arabelle laughed softly. Then let's be ready. Under the Seoul skyline, the blossoms still fluttering in the spring breeze, she felt prepared. Love, she realized, wasn't just about passion. It was courage, patience, and holding your ground when shadows from the past tried to creep in. The office felt heavier than usual that Monday morning. Arabelle had barely settled at her desk when a ripple of tension traveled across the floor. Whispers followed her like shadows, and she knew exactly why. Bora had arrived early, her presence as sharp and calculated as a blade. Bora's heels clicked with deliberate precision as she strode past, her gaze locking on Arabelle. Good morning, she said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. I see the CEO is still very attentive to you. Arabelle kept her composure, straightening in her chair. Good morning, she replied evenly, letting the words land without a tremor. Bora's smug faltered for just a moment, and that was enough. By mid-morning, a meeting with an important client had Arabelle working closely with Jae-hyun. Bora, as if orchestrating chaos, joined the conference room unexpectedly. The client's attention wavered the second she entered, and Arabelle could feel Bora's gaze slicing into her confidence. Jae-hyun leaned slightly closer, whispering, Don't let her get under your skin. You're more capable than anyone here. Arabelle nodded subtly, letting her focus sharpen. She opened her presentation, her voice calm but assertive, translating complex ideas into vivid strategies. Bora interjected, attempting to cast doubt, but Arabelle countered each point with poise and intelligence. Every slide, every explanation, reinforced not only her competence but also her unshakable presence. The client, impressed, nodded repeatedly. Your insight is invaluable, they said, and your teamwork, flawless. Arabelle's chest swelled quietly. She had navigated Bora's sabotage without faltering, proving her worth where it truly mattered. After the meeting, Bora followed Arabelle into the corridor, leaning against the wall like a predator waiting to strike. You think you've won, don't you? She said, voice low and dangerous. The CEO may support you now, but the office, they'll talk. They always do. Arabelle's response was steady, almost serene. Rumors don't define me, she said softly. And neither do they define him. Only our actions do. Bora's lips twitched in irritation. We'll see how long that lasts. Arabelle continued walking, heart steady, but inside she felt a flicker of unease. Bora was relentless, and her presence reminded Arabelle that the path to love and respect was never simple. Later that evening, Jae-hyun found her at the rooftop garden, gazing at the city lights. He approached quietly, wrapping his arms around her from behind. She's testing you, he murmured, lips brushing her hair. But I'm not worried. You've got something she'll never understand. Arabelle leaned back into him, letting his warmth settle her. I just hate that she won't stop. I know, he said softly, but this is life. Challenges come. You've proven yourself today. Bora isn't the first shadow you've faced, and she won't be the last. But with honesty, courage, and patience, we'll navigate it together. Arabelle rested her head against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The wind carried the faint scent of cherry blossoms from the nearby trees, a reminder that even after storms, beauty persisted. Together, she whispered. Together, he repeated, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. And under the soft glow of the Seoul skyline, Arabelle realized something important. Love wasn't just passion or romance. It was strength, resilience, and standing tall even when shadows from the past tried to cast doubt. The morning sunlight streamed into Arabelle's apartment, glinting off the small silver ring on her finger. She traced it absently, thinking of the day she and Jae-hyun had gotten engaged. The thought of the wedding, the planning, and the life ahead made her heart flutter. But one thing lingered in her mind. Bora. She knew that woman would not disappear quietly, and Jae-hyun had made it clear she wouldn't get in the way. Are you ready? Jae-hyun's deep voice broke her thoughts. He leaned against the doorway, his tailored suit crisp and perfect as always, and his eyes softened when they met hers. Ready for what? She asked, masking the nervous excitement in her tone. The first meeting with our wedding planner. Time to make this official, he said, offering his arm. The planner's office was bright and chic, floral arrangements lined the walls, and soft music filled the space. Arabelle felt a thrill as they walked in together. People stared as Jae-hyun, the powerful CEO, held her hand confidently. It was a subtle reminder that she wasn't just anyone, she belonged at his side. We'll start with the guest list and themes, the planner said, flipping through her notes. Arabelle noticed Jae-hyun leaning toward her, whispering, You look amazing. Can't wait to call you my wife. She smiled, squeezing his hand, her nerves dissolving in the warmth of his gaze. Just as they began discussing color palettes and floral arrangements, her phone buzzed. She glanced down to see Bora's name flashing on the screen. A wave of irritation mixed with amusement washed over her. She ignored it. Then, the door opened. Bora's sharp heels clicked against the polished floor, a sound Arabelle knew all too well. For a brief second, memories of past confrontations flashed through her mind. The banquet, the office whispers, Bora's relentless attempts to unsettle her. Her chest tightened slightly, but she straightened, her confidence returning like a shield. Still playing house? Bora's voice dripped with derision as her eyes scanned the room. I see nothing's changed. He's still letting you pretend you belong. Arabelle met her gaze steadily, her tone calm but unwavering. I belong because he chose me, Bora. He's built a life with me, not with you. You had your chance. Bora's lips curled into a snarl. You think you can erase me? You think your pretty speeches and fake smiles mean anything? Jae-hyun stepped in, placing himself firmly between the two women. His presence radiated authority, calm, and certainty. Bora, he said, low and controlled, this is the final time. You will not disrespect Arabelle. You will not disrupt this day. And you will leave, now. Bora's eyes flickered with frustration, searching for a crack in their confidence. He owes me. You can't just push me aside. Arabelle, surprisingly steady, lifted her chin. He doesn't owe you anything. Your chapter is closed. This is our story, and you have no place in it. Jae-hyun gently touched Arabelle's hand, a quiet reassurance that they were united. Bora's shoulders slumped for the first time, the fire in her eyes dimming as the truth hit. She was powerless against their resolve. With one final glare, Bora spun on her heel and stormed out, the sharp click of her heels fading down the hallway. The door closed behind her with a soft thud, final and unshakable. Arabelle exhaled, leaning into Jae-hyun. I thought she'd never give up. He smiled, brushing a curl from her face. Some villains never learn, but the hero always wins in the end. Outside the window, the Seoul skyline glittered, a reminder that their past conflicts were behind them. For Arabelle and Jae-hyun, the path was clear: love, trust, and a future they would shape together. The morning of the wedding dawned crisp and bright, the Han River sparkling like liquid glass beneath a pale sun. Arabelle stood in her suite, the soft ivory dress cascading around her, embroidered with delicate lace that seemed to shimmer in the morning light. Her curls were pinned elegantly, a few loose tendrils framing her face. She could hear the faint hum of activity outside. The florists, the musicians, the photographers. But here, in this quiet room, her world was only Jae-hyun. He appeared at the doorway, sharp in his black tuxedo, bow tie perfectly centered, hands gently clasped behind his back. His gaze softened the moment it met hers. You're breathtaking, he whispered. Arabelle blushed, her heart skipping. And you look incredible, she replied,